young gentlemen.
For the house.
Here.
Into that natural instinct they have.
I know them so well.
Go out there and see what's going on the fire. Thank you.
It's a very very dark. Yeah, we have such great. We've done this
My character is Dr. Mbenga, and Dr. Mbenga is now on his fourth season being shot, and Mbenga he's a savior, a killer, a healer, and a grieving father, all boiled in one. So there's quite a bit to him. You know, I think we're lucky in general because unfortunately not every cast has that, but we tend to, we do appreciate each other offset, as in off camera, as people, and that's been great. So it's easier to bring the work together, or I should say, I guess some of that chemistry shows up on camera. And that's it, we're just lucky to have easy people to work with. It's always been forward thinking from TOS, the original series. Gene Roddenberry was a man who was trying to portray humanity as it should be portrayed. He was not a believer in sidelining segments of society, and I think we still struggle with that clearly, but he was a very big believer in moving that forward. And Star Trek has always held a light, really, and shined a mirror to society, a true mirror of this is what it is, regardless of whatever unreality and fake reality that you want to create. So it's magical to be working on a show that's got a mission like that. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. You get into this, into this line of work because you want to play. You want to play, and you are being paid to play, and you're living your dream, and So to be able to come on set and see a set that is a reality is a beautiful thing. From the costume designers to the set designers, the production designers, it's just always magical. And yeah, we try and do it to the best of our abilities. New York is a big part of my life. I spent almost 30 years of my life in New York City. So I grew up in New York from my late teens. And it's where I started acting in high school, but it's where I started studying properly and, spent many years in acting classes here in New York City. So the vibe of New York, the energy of New York is really, I'm a New York actor, one would say. And so that shows up in the work. It's respecting the work. It's taking the work to heart. It's taking the craft to heart. It's putting the work into the craft. That's the only reason I'm here. That's why I want to be here. And New York is probably, massive part of that.
I play Mr. Spock, and he's half Vulcan and half human. And humans in this particular portrayal are very emotional and histrionic, and Vulcans are very logical, and they eschew emotion in order to have a more, advanced and evolved civilization. And so he's betwixt these two worlds, and so it's a sort of perpetual conflict in him. The Federation is this exploratory team that goes out into the universe and searches for new life and new civilizations. And the whole purpose is to kind of display or make an example of a way of being that isn't so hateful and fearful. And so it's really about being curious about that which is other from you. And I think it's a message that never ceases to be important. It's more intimidating than inspiring, to be honest with you, because there's so much incredible work that's being done. There's so much money involved, right? And of course, as an actor, you're like, okay, show up, now do it. You know what I mean? So it's like pretty intimidating. But it's, you know, now that we've been on this for years, I think we're a little bit more comfortable with that responsibility. No, I wasn't always a Star Trek fan, but I was a science fiction fan, pretty much as far as I can remember. And so I didn't know what I was auditioning for when I first got the audition. And when I found out what it was, I was shocked and stunned. So I think most of it was built on set because during the first season, it was the pandemic, the apocalypse. And so we weren't really allowed to spend any time with each other outside of set. So we've kind of gotten to know each other through our characters. She was telling me that this is the 25th anniversary of it. And it's like a really hip, cool festival that I think was began in response to the events of 9/11, which is something I didn't know until today. And so I think it's a really elevated premiere, and I'm very excited and proud to be here.
They wrote her with kind of a very specific attitude of, I'm kind of proud, and I think they wrote her funny. I think that it's about trying to make the world a kinder and better place to live, which is ironic because it takes place off the planet, but I think that it's got a very profound message that has traveled over the years, and I think people are grateful for that. It's got all the, you know, sci-fi stuff and the great things to look at and amazing adventures, but it's sort of profoundly ethical and kind. Too fun, too fun. We're doing an episode right now that is so wild. I can't tell you what it is, but it's so wild. They're so inventive. Every different episode is like a different world. What came to my mind when the project came to me is these people have made a mistake, because I had never really seen Star Trek ever, and I just couldn't believe it that they wanted me on it. And so I was thrilled, but I told them honestly, I don't know Star Trek, and they were happy about it because they said that it was good for my character. So that was big of them. That was generous of them. They didn't take the part away. You know, I've been at this festival many years off and on, and I was here last year with Between the Temples, a movie, and I admire Robert De Niro and Jane Rosenthal so much. And this festival has given so much back to the arts community and the city of New York. And you know the history that they birthed it right after 9/11 because they felt that the city and the artists in the city needed to be connected to something that made them feel good again. And I think that they've succeeded in a way that is unfathomable, and I'm so proud to be here.
I'm a native New Yorker, so this is really a privilege. It's iconic for me. Although my daughter kept saying as we were passing other theaters, why isn't it in Tribeca? So now we're actually in Tribeca, so fantastic. And it's nice to be amongst such illustrious company. You know, Star Trek's history is to push boundaries. You know, Star Trek has always been right on the forefront culturally when it comes to issues of the day. And there are a lot of issues today. So it's a good opportunity to talk about what's happening in the world through science fiction.
We both grew up watching the original series and several other versions of Star Trek, and so part of it was we each had favorites. Everyone liked different things, but the most important thing was we wanted it to feel like it came from the same world. We feel like it came from the same genre, and we wanted people to look back and say, oh, that was one of the best Star Trek series that they ever did, because that's how I think of the other series. And so my I thought was to pass it on, you know what I mean? Because someone's going to do that in the future when they do another version of the series.
We are stealing from both forms. We have serialized character stories, so people can have things happen to them and react to them over the course of the season. But you can drop in episode to episode for standalone stories, and we get to change genre and tone. So we did a musical episode. We have a documentary episode coming up. So we get to see the stories through different lenses.
We're working on season 4 right now, and there's some things we probably can't talk about, but there is this season 3 has, we have a murder mystery that is a unique take on a familiar genre that some of which you've seen before and some of which I promise you have not. There will be surprises that you do not see coming. There are versions of characters who you may be familiar with if you know the original series, but you haven't seen in this form.
Our biggest swing hasn't happened yet.
Well, I play Captain Christopher Pike, who's the captain of the USS Enterprise, Captain Pre-Kirk, and how I feel connected to the role. I don't really, I don't know, I'm a fairly practical actor. I don't really feel the need to feel connected to my characters. If I did, I'd be in trouble because my last series regular, I was, basically a serial killer. So the thing that really piqued my interest when I was like 8 years old, when I started watching the original in syndication on our local UHF channel, Sunday nights at 6 o'clock, I still remember the time slot, was this, it keyed into that natural instinct we have to want to go out there and see what's beyond the firelight, to explore. I think that we all have that kind of bug, like when you take something like NASA, right? And you say, we're going to spend $25 billion this year to try and take a step towards putting a man on Mars. And on paper, that sounds like a terrible investment. There's so many other things we could do with $25 billion. But everybody in the world goes, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that, right? So I think that it really connects with that part of us that wants to reach out. There's always a Christmas present type feel to a premiere because you've worked so hard on this thing. You feel like it's what the audience is going to really appreciate, and you just want to see them open it, So that's the most exciting part of it. But then to be doing it at Tribeca, I've never been at Tribeca. I've judged at Tribeca, but I've never had a film at Tribeca. And having really established my career in this city and lived here for 25 years, it's great to be back. I'm in Nashville now. Hey, Nashville. But I love both places. So yeah, really good to be here. A lot of film festivals you go to, and it kind of owns the city for a week or so, or the city gains ownership over the festival. Here is kind of like New Yorkers are like, what? Oh yeah, Tribeca. Okay, get out of my way. And yeah, so you feel kind of like we're the little collective of filmmakers and critics and audience members that are huddling up in this amazing place and celebrating film and hopefully a few New York filmmakers at the same time.
Well, Nyota Uhura is not to toot my own horn, but she's quite beloved. Originated by the incredible late, great Nichelle Nichols. She is a communications officer. She's a dreamer, a lover, a playful, brilliant little genius. I think they call her a prodigy in season 1 because she knows 37 languages. But she is just the inquisitive, curious, green little black girl that all of us were at some point. Well, all of us black women were at some point. I think it's because it's an ode to the source material. We are doing Planet of the Week, very episodic nature, just like the original series. I think what fans resonate with is how familiar it is while also keeping it modern and exciting. We are looking back at the genesis of some characters that we're seeing Uhura, we're seeing Spock, we're seeing Kirk, we're seeing Scotty, we're seeing so many characters that people feel as though they already know, and we're giving them new sides to themselves, new gifts, new personality traits. We're just continuing to flesh out and continue to expose who these characters are in all stages of life. And I think that where you are as a younger person informs your journey as you continue to grow and mature. And so to see these characters sort of genesis and see them establishing their relationships early, it's just so exciting for fans who know the source material and love it. I'm such a theater kid, and I love drag. I love being able to like let a character's costume, let the look inform you, and we get to do so much fun genre play, and we get to try all these new looks and new stuff that's so exciting and yummy and good, and it just inspires the multifaceted artist in me, the visual art lover, the poet, the singer, the dancer, like all of that gets to be fed in this upcoming season. So it's such a meal. It's such a good meal. I was a Star Trek fan as soon as that audition hit my inbox. Let me tell you. I come from a family of Trekkies. My mom is the biggest Trekkie I know, and so she was more excited that I booked this than I was. I just happened to have a job. Hello. But no, I think Trek is referenced in everything. I actually have like a personal drinking game that if I'm listening to something or I'm watching something and there's a Trek reference, I have to finish whatever cup of water is next to me to just stay hydrated. Play it at home. It's very fun. It keeps you hydrated. But yeah, I grew up in a family of Trekkies. My mom loves Star Trek. She's actually here today, and she gets to see the season 3. That's what we're on. Season 3 premiere. And yeah, I think Trek is such an important piece of pop culture, especially American pop culture or Western pop culture. It's a sci-fi titan, and so to have an opportunity to contribute anything to such an established, beloved franchise is such a gift. I felt great. It's great to be here. It's so funny. I have been to Tribeca Film Festival many times as a New Yorker, as a lover of film, as a lover of art, but I've always been there for friends who have stuff debuting. It's my first time being on this side of the carpet at Tribeca Film Festival, and it's such a dream. I think it's every New York actor's dream to have something debut at Tribeca Film Festival, because then you get to go home and not have to sit in that long LA traffic. Hello. Yeah, it's such a gift. It's exciting. I think we're still coming back from that like post-strike energy. There's a lot of opportunity for us to show off our show in a way that is really, really honest to what it is. We get to take pride in it in the way that we weren't able to during the strikes for reasonable reasons. Thank you, SAG. But yeah, I think it's that feeling that like I can imagine racehorses get when they're in that little thing and they have the blinders on and they're just waiting for that horn. They're just waiting for it. That's how I feel. I feel like, just let me at him. Let's do it. Let's get started. I'm so excited.
It's still Roger Corby, right? Like, it's still Roger Corby before he goes mad and tries to turn everyone into androids. But, you know, Corby was... something made Corby that way. Maybe he has a smidge of that darkness in him already, but, you know. But even from, like, just the audition process, it was going to be different. Corby was going to be different. So it's like... And what Jess did with Nurse Chapel informed how different Corby was going to be. Well, the traditional side of things, like just the structure of the show, you're on a ship, you know, each individual episode is like its own thing, you know, its own adventure. The way that it seamlessly mixes the sci-fi aspects of things, the interest of like if the human race could be kind of like almost perfect in how they do things in the future, you know, and comedy, like. It mixes all those things just like what made Star Trek popular before. But as for how it resonates with the new audience, I mean, you have things like the musical episode, you've got, I think other like spin-off shows like the Lower Decks and stuff like that can bring people into Star Trek in general, and then they come to Strange New Worlds, and then what made Star Trek successful in the first place resonates with them also. I mean, I'm a huge Trekkie, like, so just being around it was mad, and like I was just saying there, my first day was walking down the hallway on the Enterprise with Spock. You know, that's crazy. So extremely inspiring. And, you know, acting is not an easy industry. So, like, getting a role ever is always a great win. But getting a role in something that you've always wanted to be a part of is double inspiring. The same thing that comes to mind anytime I get a role that I'm, like, really excited about. I'm like, you know, your agents are, like, making a deal. I'm like, I just take it easy. Don't do anything that, like, is going to make them go, actually, no, let's hire that other guy, or like, until I'm like on the set and I'm in the cafeteria eating my lunch, I'm like nervous that something's going to go wrong. Now I'm just nervous about it coming out, and will Corby resonate with people? Will I like my performance in the show? You know, but excited to see, you know, the season of Star Trek that I get to be a part of, but also just to see season 3. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I know what happens. I've read all the scripts, but I'm just excited to see it all come together now. It's such a prestigious film festival, and, you know, it's probably the film festival in New York. So that's awesome.